Coming to you live from China, it's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and I have travelled 10 million miles to record this episode today. With me on my journey, he's an idiot. We have purposely trained him wrong. As a joke, it's Chris.
That's the wrong person.
And secondly, from this day forward, we will all refer to him by the name Betty. It's Betty. Andy.
Sorry, what are you guys doing later, huh? I was just going to hang out, but maybe we could get a pizza or, scam some chicks or something, right?
Perfect.
He's also on the podcast. We are the 10 Point Podcast. You can hear us wherever you get podcasts and wherever you watch your YouTube videos, because we're on YouTube as well. Come watch us there. It's the same, but you can see us. Podcast, every single podcast app in the world has us on it. Just type in 10 Point Podcast. All the letters, no numbers there, and you'll find us. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, all that sort of stuff. And get in touch. You can get in touch with us on Facebook and on Twitter, 10 Point Podcast on both of those. All the letters, no numbers, and 10pointpodcast.com, where there's a bunch of articles and reviews and stuff going up there every single week at ever-increasing numbers and rates as the cinemas begin to open around the country, except where I am. I think that's it. Any extra bits and pieces, Andy? Normally you give me a bit of
yeah, you can buy t-shirts. Buy t-shirts.
That's right.
We t-shirts.
I hadn't put the merch into my notes yet. T-shirts. Where can we get t-shirts, Andy?
You go on our Facebook page, follow the link, buy it.
There you go.
Bargain price of $9.99.
There you go. It's cheap. That is cheap for a t-shirt these days. Everything on the internet is a t-shirt that's got something on it. Like my Jaws inspired one here. That was a birthday present, but it's there are more than a tenner, these sort of things. But yes, t-shirts, not mugs just of yet. Actually, I don't have my mug today, but you can get mugs at some point,
mugs,
maybe possibly.
Beers, all of it's coming very soon on the website.
Oh, that's it, the beer, yeah. I forgot to ask.
I need to get a beer to try it.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you about that. I need to try and
Piss
invest
water.
in some of those.
Absolutely good.
No, tasty beer. You're buying it for the can. But yeah, 10pointpodcast.com for all your 10 Point Podcast goodness, and YouTube to watch the videos. What have we done in the last week? What have we been watching and dreaming and all those things in between? I never start with Chris. So Chris, what have you been watching in the last week? Or maybe I'll always start with you. Anyway, what have you been doing, Chris?
I watched Face Off the other night. It was on TV. I won't go into much detail. Everyone knows what Face Off is. I also watched Escape from Pretoria. If you don't know what that is, it's a true story of a prison.
Daniel Radcliffe. I've seen it.
Yeah, Radcliffe.
Radcliffe. I can't speak it.
He's basically a prison break from South African prison.
Wasn't that the country that Peter Griffin invented in Family Guy? That was just
yes.
Yeah.
So, worth time or not worth time? Old Escape from Harry Potter.
It's all right. I quite enjoy it. It's quite intense at some scenes, but yeah, because it's based on a true story, and if you know the story, you kind of know what happens. So
he's a wizard, so it's pretty easy, and he's already
wizard
from Azkaban.
I also watched one more film, but I'm not going to say anything because I might be picking it soon.
Right, okay.
The classic.
I'll go next because I know Andy watched the film that I watched, so I'll leave that to the end. And it is the newest of all the films that are going to be mentioned here. So I'll watch one that's not quite as new because I finally got around to seeing Mortal Kombat, the 2021, I guess, version. The new
banger.
One. We've all famously did the Mortal Kombat 95 version about 6 months ago now, I think. Mortal Kombat, the new one, I can't actually express how much better it was than I thought it was going to be. It's actually pretty good. Like,
I bet you wanted another hour to an hour and a half of it. It wasn't enough.
It's up there with what you kind of want to watch it again as soon as it was finished. It was almost at that sort of level, but yeah, a bit more. Like it ran out too early.
Yeah, that's my only criticism of that.
Knowledge is pretty much the film we watched. That's my knowledge of Mortal Kombat. So what I took from that transported pretty well into the new one and all that. So yeah, really good, really good. And I do want another one of that. Do we know if they're making a Mortal Kombat?
It did get greenlit a couple of weeks ago. So yeah,
that's very good. But yeah, I actually got goosebumps at a bit. That tells you how film's working. Was I won't give anything away because it's still quite new. But the final scene between the baddie that they have to defeat and our main hero, when his helper outer comes into that fight and it becomes a 2-on-1 and the famous Mortal Kombat theme song starts playing, actual goosebumps up my arm.
It's emotional.
It was, but yeah, way better than I thought it was going to be, and yeah,
And Kano
also
absolutely
set me up
steals the show.
nicely. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, he's
He uses the
my
word
favourite.
cunt better than I can.
Some of the bits that, like, just the little bits he does. There's like about
Yeah.
a 20-minute period in the middle of the film where just everything he says is hilarious. Like when they're talking about Sonya Blade not having, she doesn't have the mark, and you just hear him in the distance going, "Wah, wah," just
Yeah.
off the camera somewhere.
My
Like,
favourite
little
line.
bits like-
My favourite line's when he
Is that
walks
the
up
other
to
cable scene? He's brilliant in it.
yeah, when he walks up to Liu Kang and went, "I've got a laser beam, bitch. Better than your fire shit."
but yeah, really enjoyable, and it set me up very nicely for this week's movie. But over to Andy now, because I think I watched the same film as you, Andy. So why don't you give us what you watched this week?
I watched loads of shit. So I watched the Dead Pixel, Army of the Dead Pixel, which is, if you don't know, that's the Army of the Dead film, which absolutely got fucking ruined. It was a solid 7 until I found 2 dead pixels in my TV, and it got rated down to a 1 because it was that bad. It really fucking took me right out of the film. So apparently this is an ongoing problem with Netflix and a certain camera, Canon 4K camera, apparently. So any new
I've never
film,
noticed it in other films.
yeah, apparently that's already on 3 of the new shows that Netflix have recorded.
Really?
And it's a specific 55 grand camera that Netflix have been using for their new films and productions that have got 2 dead pixels in it and absolutely fucks films up. So that was shit.
That's the one I also watched this week, and you warned me ahead of time about this
Yeah.
situation, and it might have been because I totally stopped paying attention about halfway through the film, but I didn't notice it. But then I was like, it was one of those things where, you know, you watch a film and your phone comes out when you start to lose interest. I think the second half of the film I was just looking at my phone, so I can't actually fairly review it because it just bored me so much that I
Yep.
stopped paying
I
attention.
was the same.
to it. It is tremendously, unbelievably too long for what it is.
2.5 hours for a
and-
zombie film's bad.
No, and especially when the first half hour is the building the team, getting the people together. I'm like, I don't care about half of them, but at least, okay, we've built the team together. And then it's, oh, here's a couple more characters, and here's this person. And remember that character we introduced an hour ago? They've now got a scene here. Do you remember what they were like? No. And then the whole CGIing in the woman on the side.
Yeah.
It's like, who I don't recognize from Mandalorian, despite me telling you.
Oh no, it wasn't Mandalorian. I meant Discovery.
Right, okay.
In Star Trek Discovery. It's all the same.
But she was also pretty annoying as well, and I'm like, this film would have done better if they hadn't tried to force her into it and just had someone else fly a helicopter. But yeah, too long and
Yeah,
unnecessary.
avoid.
I haven't seen it, and going by your reviews, I don't really want to see it
Nope.
now.
However, a
Just
film
watch
that I did. God, a film that I did see that was banging. Went to the cinema. Good old cinemas back open down here. Not for you, Bruce. Gutted. Went and watched Conjuring 3. Fuck me,
Okay.
that shit me up.
Oh, no. I'm not a big horror movie guy, but I was intending to see it because I liked the first Conjuring, and I was going to catch up and
Yeah.
the new one.
Well, you don't have to see any of the Conjurings. Like, literally, it is a fully standalone, so you can go watch Conjuring 3 without seeing 1, 2, Annabelle, Nun, whatever.
yeah, I
it's
was just
just-
going to do 1, 2, 3. So,
Yeah, but yeah, you can literally just drop straight into 3. You can miss every other one. Just go watch it. It's based on a true story, as true as it can be, obviously. But yeah, fucked up. America is fucked up. That's all I'm going to say.
okay.
And then we're going to be having blah 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 blah. Fucking hell, I'm hammered tonight. Anyway, the other film that I'm looking forward to, I've not quite seen yet because I booked this last year. I had cinema tickets for it, which was The Quiet Place 2. I'm actually going to go and see that tomorrow. So yeah, review will be up shortly with that as well.
It was that when you went to see it, that was going to be my selection. The first one was going to be my selection on the podcast that week.
Yeah.
A little, and then it got cancelled and pushed back and all that. So I didn't pick it. It was also going to be my pick this week, but I decided against it in the end because I didn't really want to do it again. But yeah, any other new ones, Andy? Is that the extent to what you've seen this week?
That's
Any-
pretty much it.
That's it. That's a lot of cover there. Quite a few films I've all seen in various forms in the last few while, so we better get on with the podcast this week. And point number 1 on this week's 10-point podcast, what's the point? The point is the 2002 or 1976, if you want to look at it that way, action martial arts comedy Kung Pow Enter the Fist is this week's selection. Brought to us by O Entertainment via 20th Century Fox, but I watched it on Disney Plus, which is quite funny that they now own this movie as well.
so did I.
But yeah, those are the people behind it. But I think it's funny that Disney owns, like, you see the 20th Century Fox and like, Disney paid good money for this. I'll speak before we go too far. Amazon are buying MGM and all the Bond movies. Andy,
Aye.
you're outspoken about the Bond movies. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I've already heard rumours that Bond might not be coming out this year.
Oh, right, again, is it?
Hot off the presses because of the new Amazon deal. It means they have to do new deals with the cinemas and stuff like that. So it's breaking news as it's coming in. But yeah, that's currently what the rumours I've seen this afternoon.
It's doomed, I think.
So fuck
There's no
Bond.
time to die. Oh god. Right. Anyway, back to Kung Pow. Kung Pow, written and directed and starring Steve Odekirk, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Steve Odekirk. Not much in the way of an actor. He's in bits and pieces. He seems to do a lot of things that are like thumb-based parodies.
I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Have you never watched them? They're fucking brilliant.
No.
Oh, brilliant.
Right, maybe a future review might be of Thumb Wars.
Yeah.
whatever it is. I
Thumb
think
Wars,
that's
the
name
Thumb
for
Father. Oh, they're all good.
Right, so he's mainly in those, if you want to call it thumbs being in it. But a writer, storyline, stories, screenplays, all that sort of stuff. So things he has written, or at least co-written. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, I believe that's the sequel, isn't it? That was the second
Yeah.
one. The Nutty Professor 1 and 2, as much as someone other than Eddie Murphy writes that, I guess he was one of the people credited. Patch Adams, and then is Jimmy Neutron, the television series, and then the movie of that. He did a whole bunch of that. Then he did Kung Pow Enter the Fist, his masterpiece, his own thing, where he was both starring and directing and writing. Afterwards, wrote both Bruce and Evan Almighty films. Something called Barnyard, which is one of his big known as the writer for. And then I've got an asterisk next to it because he's one of about 100 people who are credited for writing Cowboys and Aliens, which is coming up on the podcast as well. But
Oh, film.
he was one of, no exaggeration, about 8 people who wrote that film, which tells you how the production went on it. The only other person in the credits at the beginning of the film as starring in Kung Pow was Jennifer Tung, who played Woe, the one-breasted woman. Everybody else is like archive footage from the older film. Jennifer Tung, not much of a CV, but this was the biggest thing she's ever been in. And before it, she did stunts in Armageddon. She played an ensign on Star Trek Insurrection, and then she was like a little random woman number 2 in What Lies Beneath. And this was quite clearly her biggest role to date. And I think she's probably still excited for the sequel, which I'm assuming it never came out, the second Kung Pow movie, but I could be wrong.
Imagine that being your biggest role as being a one-breasted woman.
It's worse roles to have.
Maybe she is a one-breasted woman, and that's why. I don't know. Was it special effects, or maybe that's why she was cast in that role? Maybe more.
Shazza, I apologise.
Kung Pow Enter the Fist, a budget of $10 million. Intriguing. US opening weekend of $7 million. Final US gross $16 million, so it made a profit. Worldwide, the number I have is $17 million, so apparently it made $1 million outside of US.
And I reckon that was just from me and Chris.
I don't know if that's all-inclusive or not. I don't know if that's everything. But yeah, somewhere in the region of almost doubling its money, I would say. Released 25th of January 2002. That's right, peak award season. That's exactly when your big Oscar contenders start coming out, end of January and all that. So 2003 Oscars, not nominated whatsoever. We've done that twice before, both this season, one of which was like a week ago.
Last week.
Yeah,
It was.
Best Picture Chicago, which was now mentioned three weeks this season. Kung Pow not mentioned at all at the MTV Movie Awards either. Best movie was Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. And the 2003 Razzie Awards, Kung Pow Enter the Fist, not nominated either. I thought it was going to get some sort of mention there. Worst picture that year.
Wasn't it?
What's that, sorry?
Wasn't that some Madonna piss you put
Yeah,
on?
exactly, swept away. That Madonna film, again, getting a mention, was worst picture. So not mentioned at the Razzies, Kung Pow, but it did get mentioned. It's only 2 award nominations it ever got. Were both at the 2002 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. It was nominated for Worst Picture at that one, and it lost to Swept Away, which managed to sweep the Bad Movie Awards. And it was also nominated, Kung Pow was, for Most Painfully Unfunny Comedy.
Oh.
And it won
What?
It was tied. It was joint winner with a film called The Master of Disguise, which is Dana Carvey, who played Garth in the Wayne's World movies. A pretty dreadful looking thing that he was in, where he I won't go for too far into it, but anyway, it was so bad for the Razzies. I didn't get mentioned there either, I don't think. But yes, this is an award-winning movie, Kung Pow. It
Yay.
won painfully unfunny comedy. But we'll leave that there for now. On to a brief synopsis of the film that I have got from Nick. I don't know if it's the same Nick, but
Please be the same, Nick.
this Nick is giving me all these synopses. I'm going to make him the fourth member of the podcast soon, I think. Anyway, synopsis from Nick. Not read this before either. Orphaned when he was still an innocent infant, the chosen one, the born martial arts expert, swears to avenge his parents' death and take his revenge from Master Pain, aka Betty, the ruthless villain who has wronged him. Reared by gophers and trained by Master Tang himself, the Kung Fu prodigy sets off his heroic adventure along with fellow martial arts student Ling and voluptuous sage Wo, wandering the vast landscape against endless waves of lethal enemies and a devastating karate-chopping dairy cow. Inevitably, the final confrontation with the villainous Master Pain is at hand. However, has the chosen one mastered his art? Andy, you selected this movie. Despite just reading that, why don't you give us a brief reason of why you picked this, if it wasn't already evident?
Well, this film, I don't even know where it came from. It just crossed my path. It was like finding a porno mag in a bush when you're a kid. It just
Put that in the DVD box.
I'm not even joking. It literally was. We were at school. He was. I've got this film, by the way. Brings it in his bag, hands over, watch it. Literally, like
it was.
like
This
I got
film,
passed around and watched
yeah.
the porno.
this film went around the fucking school like wildfire. Just I don't even know where it came from. I just happened to get it, and I was just like, right, I'm watching this. I watched this 4 times in less than 24 hours. Because I just needed to see people's reactions to this film, because I remember watching it and I was just like, what the fuck did I watch? This was hilarious, but not actually laughing through it, but I was just like, my mind was boggled, so I had to show it to everybody. But this film genuinely went around our school like wildfire, like just literally a porno mag. It was insane.
So you wouldn't have seen this on television, then. This is not a insert.
No, it was just a
here.
DVD. Like, I don't even know where it came from. Like I said, it was just like a gift from the gods. Just appeared.
I'm assuming, Chris, you found it in the manner that was just described. That was the first time you saw it. Was this...
Yeah, literally in school. Chris, watch this. That was it.
I'd never seen it. I was aware of this. I don't know how I was aware of it. Like, obviously, I went to the same school, but I don't think
That's
how
probably
I
that's
was
probably
aware of
why.
it.
I told you, it's like
Maybe.
porn.
But
Just me and him walking past, quoting the film. You'd be like, "What the fuck are they doing?"
But yes, I had never seen it. This was my first viewing. And as I say, we all watched it on Disney Plus, so we definitely watched. I'm assuming there's no director's cut of Kung Pow into the film. So I'm assuming that's the original version would be the.
There is a on the DVD you can actually watch it where he does all the voiceovers in a Shakespearean accent instead.
Because he just spent an extra hour and a half doing it like that, did he? Oh, right. Anyway, we better get on with it then. Point 2, the high points. What we thought the best bits and best things of the film were. Andy, you picked it. Why don't you give us your first 1 or 2 if you fancy?
Right, I remember putting this film on and not knowing what the fuck was going on. It's like, oh my god, this is like an old film. And then that baby scene at the start, it's like, I don't know what was going on. It was bad CGI, bad dummy effects, but it all just worked together to make me laugh already.
This film, like, almost exactly starts the same as the new Mortal Kombat film does.
Yes.
Like, it's like the same
Right.
scene.
But while you brought that up, right, and anybody that's listening, Google Mortal Kombat honest review. They actually put this on compared to Kung Pow because it is exactly the same.
Right. Okay.
They actually use the scenes and they've got like swinging the chain and they've got that's like Scorpion. It's a brilliant little thing to watch.
Yeah.
So this film's still relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Still having its impact on cinema to this day.
But yeah, you're right. It is the Mortal Kombat start.
Exactly the same. The baby fight is hilarious. So the way this film is made is they took this old 1976 film, and then he always thought this has got so much potential for comedy that it's got to twist a little bit, kind of Mystery Science 3000 kind of style, Theatre 3000. So how much of this was in the original film? Like clearly the CGI baby has been new. So
Pretty much anytime the Betty is the different person is where it's the older film.
Yeah.
There's two
Right.
different Bettys if you can tell.
yeah,
There's young Betty and old Betty.
Yeah. So the young
So-
Betty is obviously the newer stuff.
Right. So this whole baby scene was made for the film. Is that what we were?
Yeah.
trying to-
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because it's like, as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking, because I was explained before the film started that it was an old film and blah blah blah. I was like, please tell me this is what they tried to peddle out in 1976. It's a good movie. So right, okay. So it takes it down a bit for me because I really wanted that,
Right.
but I very much
But
enjoyed the baby
You,
fight.
you can tell, like, when it goes grainier, like, that's when it is the old
Yeah.
film. And, like, when the baby rolls down the hill and that woman goes and picks him up, like, bit of that is real. Like, that
Yeah,
is the old
exactly, yeah.
film. And then suddenly, I don't know what she throws, but it's obviously the baby rolls down the hill. It's just fucking brilliant.
I was like, that first when you watch the film, you just kind of like, oh, this, like the guy stabs him, and you're like, oh, this is quite a violent film. And then the fight kicks off, and he just speaks, oh, panda mouth, and a really squeaky voice. You're like, okay, that's it, alright.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you picks up the baby, and you're just like, oh, that's not gonna happen. Then woof,
So
down the hill,
cute.
and you're fucking pissing yourself laughing.
It's the right amount of rolling as well. Like it's one of the like the longer it goes, the funnier it gets until it stops getting funny. But then it gets funny again, and that's when they cut it. Is just when it gets funny again. I don't know if it's maybe interrupting Andy's theme here, but someone gets peed on or there's pissing in like the first scene again. Is this one of your themes between your picks?
No.
It's at least the third film that someone's peed very early in one of your selections. So
Nope.
I had to mention that.
But my
yeah,
other
I had
other
to be-
big
it's-
my other big high point, it's kind of like a broadly across, and I'm sure Chris will bring up more as we go on. It's a very quotable film after you've watched it.
Yes.
Like, there's not much said, but what is said is hilarious, even out of content.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah,
That's literally my first high point is time Master Payer Betty speaks. Like
yeah.
you said, from his very first words, like open the mouth.
But yeah, he could literally just say anything like this.
Birdie.
It's out of content, but just makes people laugh for no apparent reason.
I went to
The
look for
tiger
a
one.
song. There was a bit of music in it. I was trying to find what it was. It ended up on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh!" And here's the song, and that's it. And then someone put together a playlist, the Kung Pow soundtrack. So I just clicked it on in order to try and find the right song. And every video that I was clicking through them, the first comment was a quote from the film. As like you go down, and someone I just put this is their favorite line that ties into the song. And every single one, there's like 20 videos in this playlist. Again, showing the fact that
Like-
it's highly quotable for those who love it.
And my ultimate highlight of quotes, and just like, it's not really quotable, but as soon as he says it, it just makes me laugh.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I wonder where my glove will go.
It's a classic.
Also, it's the way the guys did it, like because they're looking like quite, I don't know, like scared.
Yeah.
When you just look at them, it's so funny just how they've managed to get the perfect words. Obviously, you've seen it and stuff.
One of my high points, which it's not really a high point, but it's the general idea of how the film went. Ties to that scene, you can tell that he's watched the film, and these guys look really worried or
Yeah.
scared, whatever it was, about something. So he's then made a gag, like a setup for that. And the way he does, there's like, I don't know, the film's an hour and a half long. Probably half an hour of the film. It's just little scenes that don't really pay into the storyline that he's thought, that's a hilarious bit of that. I'm going to make a joke out of it. Like the tiger and the birdie. It's just, it's just the guy sitting looking at pictures of tigers and birds. It's like, it doesn't actually play into it. The ventriloquist people, like,
Yeah.
there's no reason for them to be ventriloquists. And it's just like, the whole, just the way he's just found jokes in it is just amazing.
It is a random talent. Like, I mean, there's bits of this film that, trust me, it's just like, I don't laugh at all. It's just like, oh, God.
Mm.
But, like, the underlying joke of the dubbing being that bad, including himself, it just worked.
Yeah.
And it's just
It
like,
would annoy you in a different film, but the way they
Oh,
done
yeah.
it is so good. The bit, my favorite bit is still when our chosen one first appears, and the guy walks up and goes, "Who's he?" And the guy just goes, for ages, moving his lips, not saying it, goes, "I don't know." At the end, again, it's perfectly timed. It's exactly the right moment for him.
But you
to-
can see why I love this,
Like
'cause-
Wimplo and Ling
Yeah.
do that. Like Wimplo goes, "Have you seen him before?" And she's like, "Once, twice."
yeah. My favourite ongoing dubbing gag is the dog, who cuts the dog barks, and it gets longer and longer and longer before it makes the sound every time.
It's sound asleep at one stage, and then you can hear the dog bark.
Yeah, I was like, you see him barking and he lies down, and then
But,
woof,
yeah,
happens ages
I'm
later.
sure our listeners and viewers know that I just do not like subtitles or dubbed films, and this is the perfect reason why I don't like it, because it doesn't sync up. But this
Yeah.
works for this reason.
It's the actual fact that you can tell that Steve Odekirk, he's
yeah.
said a different line in person and then dubbed over a different line over the top of
Yep.
himself. Is going that extra length to make it funny as well. It's amazing because he could just have badly dubbed the same words, but he's actually saying different words.
I've got a fun fact, if you just give me 2 seconds. One of the lines that he actually did, so you're right what he did. So basically, when they were on set filming the extra bits, they were saying completely different lines deliberately, so that it would make it easier for him to go back and dub over.
Yeah.
One of them, let's try and get it word for word, so you can see how like smart he actually is. Where is it? So the chosen one says, "But isn't Betty a woman's name?" That's what he dubbed it over. However, when they were doing it, it was, "But isn't trouble a family game?" That was the line he made them say on set. So the lips would be almost there, but not quite.
Right. So it wasn't even that he was saying words that made sense in the context of
No.
the film. He was actually saying so the sounds looked right, but
Yeah.
wrong. Right. Okay.
So that's the kind of level he went to on that. So he basically wrote 2 films, really, if you give him credit on that.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at it like that. Yeah. Very good. My next high point I've got is Master Payne, before he became Betty, Master Payne's display of his special skill which involves him just getting the shit beaten out of him, mainly in the groin for a long period of time. But then coupled with the chosen one's replication of I just get an absolute beating and lying in a pile while they continue to beat him longer and longer and longer.
I don't know what he did to the guy in the blue, but the guy in the blue hated him. He absolutely whammed on him with the stick.
Yeah. But it's another one of those things. It appeals to my sense of humor that they just keep on going, and every time they went back to the balls,
Yeah.
it made me laugh again.
I want to see that original film. I do feel like I need to see it, just see like why is he not flinching?
Yeah.
Because at least this one he's
I
got
think
his
it had to do
special.
with the little diamond things.
No, I think that he's added
Surely it
that
has
in.
to be something to that.
I don't know.
What, for the actual movie?
Yeah, I think he like the new one is like I don't think it gives him super strength. I don't know. I need to go back and watch this original movie.
Yeah, it'll be some like he'll have some Eye of the Tiger sort of thing.
Yeah.
He does feel pain,
Doesn't
and the
feel
triangle might be part of his power. I don't know.
pain. Right, go on, Chris. What's your other one?
My next bit is going to be Master Tang. Like, the way he's just like speaking so much. Exactly, yeah. Like, when he introduces Ling as well, and she was like, she'll go over to shyness, and she opens her top, and goes, there you go.
I do love that bit. That is brilliant. Like,
The fact they've used the same scene.
yeah.
And it cuts back to him, and it just starts walking further and further away. It ends, and then it come back to him. Oh no, it's the same bit again as he keeps doing it. And then the CGI him swallowing flies for no reason as well.
Because he was choking. You can't just have him randomly walking and choking. Cover
But
it
you
off.
could tell, like that's one you could tell in the actual film. He was just an old and dying man who was really good at kung fu or whatever. For some reason, they seem to try and edit it out in this. Like he's not. He just keeps having just misfortune. And then there's one bit, it just cuts and he's sitting in bed. And he's
yes,
like, why are you
take
in
my
bed?
back like a drum.
God, this is silly. And you can tell loads of it's out of order as well. Like when he cuts to him and Master Tang's sitting in the bed, old Wimp Blow has got his face all beaten up.
Yeah.
But he's not been in a fight yet. And then the next scene, he's then in the fight. And it's tremendous.
Speaking of Wimp Blow, I've got to say the best quote in the film: "My finger points."
Yeah.
Just say as it is. It's 1 o'clock. My finger points. I wanted to look for a background of that. I think it's literally what I'm doing. Oh, have I got Betty? I can't remember now.
No, you got Betty.
He's got
I should have kept it.
But you should have a hairstyle like Betty, though, Chris. I reckon you could pull that off.
It's anti-Ronaldo.
Yeah, exactly. He's trimmed it back so that it starts halfway back his head, up his head. He's got like not a 5 head. He's got a 6 head, is what he's got. It's intentional. My next high point. I can't believe I've gone this long without mentioning it. In this film, a cow gives a man a pile driver.
Yes.
It's probably the the loudest I got excited during the entire film. Because the fight was going a bit, it was a lot of udder-based fighting and all that, but then once the cow pulled out a pile driver, okay, I've turned around on this fight now. Okay, this is now a high point.
Yeah. I need to mention this as well. You're going to tell the story, Andy, or will I tell it?
Oh, you could tell. I know you like a story.
One of the best scenes of it is like the swinging the chain scene of him just standing there swinging the chain.
That's my next high point.
At school, I'm pretty sure Andy, we'd watched this film and Andy had this his wee seat, and he had a wee gold fist or something, like a wee gold hand or something in you, like a chain.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I remember having a wee chain.
He was just sitting there going, swinging the chain, swinging the chain. All he hears, I was like, what the fuck happened to you? I just wrapped myself on the balls with the chain.
It
I
was so
can't watch
sore.
this scene without I think of Andy hitting himself in the balls with a chain now.
I almost
Don't
choked
try
on it. I almost saw the testicle.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's just the subtleness all the way through, even like after swinging the chain, like the whale going down the waterfall, the Titanic in there, just any random bit of CGI he could have put in, he just put in.
I must have been writing notes because somewhere on the internet, one of the references this film makes was Titanic, and I was like, I cannot find the connection.
Yeah,
to
sunken
Titanic,
in the
so
bottom of the thing.
right, I totally didn't see that.
Oh,
I need
fuck,
to add
that's
that.
all
I'll add it for
Quiz
the
question's fucked now. As already
Classic.
short as it was. I've got one last high point. I've got to see. Master Tang has a very early draft of What Does the Fox Say?
Oh yeah,
Just walk along going, Archer goes, oof.
I might have it. I might have it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This one.
Chicken go cluck cluck, cow go moo, piggy go how about you? Gonna be an animal just like you. Every lemurs go, ostrich go. Bleh.
There we go. Ah, shit.
Okay. If Chris is running at high points, I'll hit my my last one. Just the boombox guy. The
Yeah.
guy who shows up to all of Betty's fights and just
Yep.
puts on a banger for him to fight to. I love that, and also it brings some extra music into the film, which I was like a song here, and there were perfect choices for songs as well.
Well, that version of Black Betty is my ultimate version of Black Betty now.
Yeah, in the credits it just says Black Betty by it's Ram Jam. Is it Ram Jam?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the normal one.
I think
that's,
this one's of Spider Bite, I think it's called.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good for a fight. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it was a good fight scene. So.
Especially when he's fighting Betty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was wearing black. Andy, have you got any other high points?
Yeah, my favourite quote of everything, I don't actually got a soundbite for this, but is the guy going, "That's a lot of nuts!"
Really loudly, just shouting the entire like just little character bits they have where he just shouts the entire time. For
But yeah, for the
Betty's one of Shut Trapper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, just the guy with the nuts, it's like, why are they buying nuts? And then for the stupidest payoff ever, because I forgot he bought the nuts, and I didn't know why he bought the nuts, and then suddenly it all comes to fruition on, that's what it was for.
Very similar to Logan Lucky when Daniel Craig bought the jelly beans.
Yeah.
And then they played it later on, part of the plan. On to low points then, what we thought were the worst things in around about the movie. Why don't we go back to Andy again? Why don't you give us a low point or two?
Right, my major low point, I'm going to do a Chris here, is go right to the end. And it is the payoff for the end, like the French aliens. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was a bit of a cop-out, because let's face it, everybody does hate the French. And they're easy villains.
Especially around that time. Like the French were the Americans hated them for opposing the war and all that sort of stuff around the turn of the century there. So easy targets. It obviously reminiscent of The Dead Don't Die, except in The Dead Don't Die it was a kind of side character. Turned out to be an alien, got on the ship and left off. But this was the actual main people of the film. But also it didn't really tie into anything, and also didn't really matter. Like they just were there, hovered in the sky for a bit, and then didn't really do anything. Which it also ties in with my other low point, because I had the aliens, was tonguey. The tongue was also a mouth and eyes. Totally not needed. It's a bit silly. It's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
and it only seems to be into it to be the mark of the chosen one, which could have been something else. And then so he can go super duper long tongue and grab an alien spaceship at the end, which looks bad as well. It's not great CGI, obviously. But also, yeah, it's not especially funny. And the whole open your mouth thing, it's still quite funny. But he still kind of had a funny mark in his mouth.
Yeah.
He had something in his mouth that was, I don't know, a funny looking fist or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, tonguey and aliens. Generally, the very, very, very end of the film is just about the worst bit of the film.
Yeah, it's when they definitely run out of footage in that original film, but then that's what I suppose that's all they could do, so they had to try and do something.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: the evil council symbol is the UK's MOT symbol.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Andy!
Right. That's where, right, okay, because I was like, I've seen that before.
Oh, there's
I
two
think-
questions down, so we're now
I'm
down to 4.
I'm sure it's something to do with like tires or something. I'm sure I've seen it before.
Yes, it's the
Is that-
UK symbol for MOTs.
Who had it first? Like, when did that become the MOT symbol? Was that
I think it's-
before
I think-
1966?
I think it's been there
Probably, yeah.
forever, so. Because it's like he's so destroyed. He's like, fucked it.
I thought none of these would have actually picked up on that.
Straight away, like, I know that symbol. It looks kind of like a wrestler's mask. I thought, oh, maybe it's the logo of someone's mask. But,
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was the Mitsubishi symbol.
yeah.
Because I'm sure that's like 3 triangles.
Oh.
But you're a dick. I think I've mentioned this low point in a previous episode. I think it was Santa Sleigh. Keeping gags going longer than they should. Do you know, like the chosen one finds everybody lying like dead, and they keep
That
coming
one,
back
yeah,
and all that.
yeah. That did
And there's
go.
another
It,
one with
it was funny, but when you
Betty.
rewatch it, you can't do that.
no,
Yeah.
or like Betty and Ling just keep going wheel wheel and nah, wheel wheel
Right.
for ages.
That is my number one low point of the whole thing. Is the voices are too silly. Like immediately, the first line of the whole film is in English. Like you say, is young Betty going "open your mouth" or something like that. Like that. And it's, immediately, I'm like, okay, that's stupid. That sounds. And then you kind of get used to the way they talk. But yeah, it all hits an absolute apex in the middle of a scene where the two of them are talking to each other, and it's just yeah. And he goes back at her. That's a
It's-
scene from the film. That it's like it's not
But
funny.
it's funny to talk
overkill.
about afterwards.
It's not. It's
Chris is
it's
crying.
fun to make those noises, but you can't. Like when you hit the 80-minute mark and every scene she's in, she's making that noise. It becomes really annoying. And then one or two of the other ones are slightly more annoying than others. And of course, it's our main man does all the voices. Every voice is dubbed over, so
Except
that means
from
everyone
one
apart
boobied
from
woman.
One woman. Yeah, it's him. So he has to make them all as different as possible. So making really weird random noises must have been his way to do it.
My last one is the creepy CGI baby. Right.
Ah,
It looked like one of the zombie babies from I Am Legend. Oh no, it wasn't a zombie baby, just one of the zombies from I Am Legend.
it reminded me of like the old internet dancing baby, like the CGI
Yeah.
baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
That
Back
was
when
shit as well.
back when you had
Not
dial-up
surprised that
computer.
he's copied it. But yeah, I think you pretty much hit every low point without me really coming with any there. Any others?
Nah, that's it.
That's it. Very good.
Oh,
A lot high, not much low there. I feel like we flew through the low points, but we better go onwards. On to point 4. Point 4 is the statistic.
I thought I heard a shit.
You are incorrect, Chris. Surprisingly, for a film Andy selected, there was not one shit uttered the entire time. Not one person, and not another swear either. There was, I think, 2 bitches were about as harsh as it got. There was not a lot
Son
of
of a
swearing
bitch.
in this, exactly. However, Andy, you usually keep track of shits as well. Anything on your end, as it were.
Right. If I got punched in the stomach and my stomach fell out, I would definitely have pooped myself at that stage.
Yep, correct.
Because that guy, and how is he still alive?
And
Plugged himself back up.
as they pointed out in the film, where is his vital organs?
Yeah.
Like, it was just a pink bit that came out, and then later on, then the fake advert for the sequel.
He swings
A
it.
guy?
Yeah,
Wait, was it the same guy?
it's the same
Yeah.
guy.
Right, so he
Yeah.
used it as a weapon.
Yes.
Like, I thought somehow he had managed to punch out the middle of a person who had a chain attached to the middle bit. But yeah, it's the same guy. And I don't know, all his bits must be just around about it.
But yeah, that's my main takeaway from that. If somebody punched me that hard, I'm definitely pooping myself. And also, like, where's his intestines? Doesn't make any sense.
There was reference to a shit though, where
Did I miss a shit?
Betty was like, the last time we had a fight, you had like filled your nappy or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, there
So
was. Yeah, the
Oh,
baby
yeah.
shot
the
himself.
baby
Yeah.
did have
Yeah.
a full nappy when caught him at the beginning,
he
which I think
did.
adds even more skill to the baby's fighting. They had
It
to do a
does.
full nappy. But I'm not sure about any others. I'm sure there were. There's probably a cow pat somewhere. But very good. Zero explosions. There was kind of one at the beginning where they animated the Kung Pow logo. There was kind of an explosion behind it, but it didn't really count. So no swears, no explosions. There were 9 deaths. It hit 12 at one point because we had 3 other characters all died, including the dog, but then they all came undied, as we found out. So 9 in total. The first death was 2 minutes in, which was the Chosen One's parents, which I think is quite an early death. Not often get them that early. Did we have a dead animal in the film? Of course we did, because Wheel Woman's father, as we find out, is her father in the
Yeah.
flashback where he told her, like,
Farted,
the
killed
funny
the dog.
flashback bit where it's like one line. He farted and killed the dog.
Yes.
Seemingly is what happened. So that dog died, and then Dog seems to be the name of the dog in the film. He died briefly, but then turned out not to be dead. I thought, because I didn't know what going into the film, I used to try and pick something to count. I counted punches. So I counted landed punches, because there's quite a lot of blocking and fighting at. But there were 37 landed punches in the film. It's a bit of a rough estimate, because there were a minimum of 16 to a cow's udders. It was going so fast, it was hard to count them. It was like the gif of Charlie from It's Always Sunny.
Oh yeah.
So like that. So it was very quick, the punching. So I think roughly 37 to 40, how many punches there were. And did they say the thing? Did they say Kung Pow enter the fist?
No.
No, they didn't.
They didn't know. I don't even think they said enter the fist at any point. The whole
No, I
thing,
was just trying to think about like Master Tang said, but he says where my fist will go. So that was
and
it.
there was a bit about someone having the power of the fist or something like that as well. Something like that. But yeah, the whole thing is a title rather than said in the film. Any other stats, Chris? Often you pick up on something?
I might have lost count, but I counted 38-ish wheels.
I
They got to the point where it's just And when Chosen One tests out Betty's powers, I think he got rattled 90 times by the sticks. 90-ish. I lost count because at one point it just rattled through them all so many times I lost count there. So I'm saying 90-ish.
No wonder he was in a heap at the end. So, is that a scene? There's so many questions about individual. Was that in the original?
No.
film? Right. Okay. Because I wanted to know why they all piled on top of him. Because like in the context of this, it makes sense. But then it's like, did they find that? It's like that's funny. Let's put that in. Or did they film a new one? Right, they filmed a new one. Okay. So, it's just there's so many bits like that.
That's how well he did it. You couldn't tell between like the old one and the new one.
Exactly. On to point 5 on the podcast then, the 10-point podcast quiz.
Do you want to skip it,
At any
Chris?
point.
The hastily re-edited quiz.
Oh no, I'm sticking with it. I can't remember
Okay.
changing it now.
Go ahead.
It was a short one, but it's even shorter now. So
So
start with
disgusting.
Andy. There's not a lot of stuff I could pick out of the film. So, what is the name of the original 1976 film that the footage is taken from?
Oh, fuck, I can't remember.
Do you want it
picked
in
it as well.
Chinese or English?
I don't know. I can't remember. Something killer, but then it changed its name as well. There's actually 3 names for them. I know that much.
Oh, I've got one.
there's
We'll give you that since I've only got one. I've gone for Tiger and Crane Fists.
That's what I've got as well.
that's the original, but there's 2 films they took off of and it got renamed. Without cheating here, I'll now look since I got that wrong, so I can look.
Well, I'll do Bruce's one. How many moths fly into Master Tang's mouth?
Uh,
I've got 2.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. What's at the bottom of the waterfall?
The Titanic.
Yep. What is Master Tang's favourite band, Bruce?
what is his favourite band?
Ah, there you go. It's called Savage Killers. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right.
I cannot remember his favourite band. I have to pass.
In
I'm gonna
sync.
pass it over, but you remember one? Yep. What's his favourite member? This isn't a question, but what's his favourite member?
Oh, Pogo. Wait, hold on. Wait there.
I really like the band In Sync. My favorite member is Harpo.
Harpo. Harpo is my answer.
There's a person called Harpo anyway. Okay, officially for you, Andy. Tell me 2 of the things that Ling puts in Chosen One's hands.
Did he put her? What? Her titties?
When he's been trying to get the thingy, is it? No. His
Oh,
hands are all bloody.
That salt and lemon.
Yeah.
And
You could have
fire.
had mercury and gasoline, which she sets on fire.
And titties.
And the final question, Bruce.
MOT,
what is
the UK
yeah.
MOT.
What a quiz.
I think that was a draw. Did I lose? I think I might. I don't know.
I think you might have lost for once.
I think I might have lost. Yeah,
Somebody's going to be keeping track. One of our fans.
somebody.
I was, but I lost track now because Bruce won like 7 in a row.
No, he did
I think,
not.
Yeah, I think I.
And then you won 7. You drew quite a lot, so.
I think I've handicapped myself to the point where Andy might actually be catching up in the quizzes here. But yes, once I do my review for the Pointy Awards at the end of the season, I will probably try and keep track of the quizzes as we go. On to point 6 on this week's podcast: movies within movies. Quite a tough one for me because it's one of them films where like everything is a joke referring to something else or as a parody or an homage. What I picked up on / cheated and looked up on the internet, despite leaving out about 10 to 20 of them as well that I didn't quite get. Tiger and Crane Fists, obviously, because that is the film. Enter the Dragon. Austin Powers 2, for me that was him fighting the baby, is when him and Minnie have the fights in Austin Powers. I suppose it's Goldmember as well, isn't it? Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Spartacus. George of the Jungle is one that I found on the internet. Apparently the gopher nunchucks is a reference one way or another to the George of the Jungle film. But that is not coming out of my knowledge. That was a different person's
remember.
knowledge. Return of the Jedi. A couple of references, but for me, mainly the CGIing in of little bits. Like it was like the aliens getting CGI'd into Return of the Jedi by George Lucas. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The Matrix, The Lion King is quite obvious. Mulan's quite obvious. Titanic, I've slipped in there as we've been doing it. Dead Don't Die. War of the Worlds is also aliens. 28 Weeks Later, I can't remember why I put that in there, but it's out of my mind on that. Terminator 2 was the final battle at the end. Jurassic Park and Godzilla is the gigantic, ginormous lizard foot appearing at the end. They're all the movies, parodies, references, etc. that I bothered with. Chris, movies within movies.
So I wasn't expecting anyone to have been in previous films, but surprisingly, Leo Lee plays who's young Master Payne, was one of Kano's henchmen from Mortal Kombat, the 1995 film.
Right. Another Mortal Kombat tie-in.
Nailed it.
One other continuing trend that I've done this season earlier that I have to mention here is there was a goat in this film as well. When he was
There was a
replicating
goat.
the skill getting battered, there was a goat in the background. Like, you can see goats everywhere. I've already mentioned the cow, so I thought I might mention the goat.
As for us, Andy's definitely Betty.
Yep.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I've got my notes. I've got Betty is what I've got written down.
I put you as Master Tank, Bruce.
Okay, that's well.
And, I'm going for Wimplo because my favorite.
I give you the chosen one. I thought you had the chosen one.
I don't like going as the main one, but I went as Wimplo. Just because I like going with my finger points.
Well, there we go. If I got that, if I know you liked your finger pointing, then I'm going for very similar idea as me as well. Andy, movies within movies. I don't know if this is an easy one or a hard one for you.
It was impossible, so I had to bend my rules here. Anyway, it's pretty simple. So, you've just been defeated by the Chosen One. What do? You decide to move to America, where you're just minding your own business, and then suddenly, boom, you get hit by Jim Carrey. And then you get shot multiple times again, but you keep surviving. It's the cow. He transfers over there.
That's one way you're going with that.
I need to ask about the science behind the cow. He milks it so much that it goes down to like a skeleton. Is it dead? Like I feel like it wasn't dying.
No, it's back alive. That cow is definitely alive.
It wasn't a mortal cow in Me, Myself, and Irene as well.
Exactly. So this was the same cow.
Okay. Point 7. Andy's hypotheticals.
Right. Let's go with Chris here because his mind works in mysterious ways. Right. So, Chris, imagine you were directing this film. Okay, so you've came up with this original idea. What film would you want to put yourself and us in if you could choose anything, and then resub it?
Bloody hell. Oh, fuck, I don't know. Lord of the Rings, maybe? I don't know.
Fucking hell,
That is a good one.
that's a long slog for that.
Oh, Terminator. Here's on Terminator. And he redubs over it. I don't know.
Whose faces are going on whose though?
This is fucking hell, Andy. This is impossible.
It's a hypothetical.
I mean,
I know.
I would like to see Terminator 2 with like Andy's head on Schwarzenegger, and then you could be John Connor, and then I'll be the T-1000. That would be pretty good. I don't know what we would change the story into being, but I'd like to see that film.
If I had more time, I'd think about something different. I don't know, because I want like something funny versus like dubbing it over, like
We could just
this.
copy this idea and just do Battle Royale with us over the main people in that. That would do.
Fuck, that's a toughie. I don't know.
It's difficult.
Go on.
It's tough because you kind of have to find that foreign language.
Oh, you still have fuck it.
You don't know what it is.
I'll stick with Lord of the Rings. That'd be
Right, let's go for Lord of the
but
Rings.
make it a comedy with us.
Comedy Lord of the Rings.
About us going on a journey together.
And I think Bruce
Yeah.
already sold us on Terminator 2, so I think he's going for the Terminator 2 route.
I think Terminator 2. I think that's I like that idea. Okay, I don't know what I would change it into.
Jaws.
Being,
Change it. Jaws. One of us is the shark.
like. Bruce the Shark. There you go.
I just looked up and saw Jaws there. So yeah, I'd do it as Jaws.
There you go. Conclusive answer. On to point 8. Nominations
That's
for the
tough.
Pointy Awards.
The pressure's
Pointy
got to him.
Awards are not long away. We've not actually discussed when we're holding them yet, but at some point in the next month or two, we will have the Pointy Awards celebrating season 3 of the podcast.
What season is it?
Nominations. I'll go first. I'm not going first in any points yet. Best song. You could convince me with Black Betty, but I've got Baby Got Back. 'cause I thought
Yeah,
it was
Baby
like-
Dot Back. It just
Right,
works
okay.
better.
Yep, it does work better. The worst special effects is the baby doll is quite clearly just a doll bouncing down the hill. It's hard to get away from that. Not much in the way of high quality special effects in this film. As a brief discussion topic, did you find they were bad to a point that it spoiled it for you, or did you think they were bad enough that it tied in with how bad the movie's meant to be? Joking?
No, I think it worked. Because when you think about it, the special effects, like the bullet time of the cow, bear in mind, this only came 2 years after The Matrix, technically, which was, that bullet time shot was one of the most expensive shots in Hollywood.
Yeah,
He did it on a
definitely,
super low budget afterwards. So when he wants to do it, and obviously the whole green screen thing and putting somebody into a movie looked good. So when they added special effects in over the top, I think they were the right amount of shit. It was like Blade Blood.
yeah.
It needed
But-
to be
but
there to
funny,
be a
yeah.
little bit obvious that it wasn't
Yeah.
from 1979 or whatever it was.
He did put a lot of attention to detail though, because when the guy punches the plug out and it lands on the floor, one of the guys kicks it and it jiggles.
Yeah.
So he did pay attention to detail.
Genuinely thought you meant like a plug, like a wall socket plug.
No.
For that bit. Then you said the jiggles. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Something we didn't mention, always gets a mention in the high points whenever it happens. So I don't know if we've all forgotten about it. Is the end credits having the kind of outtakes / production
Yeah.
bits in it? I quite enjoyed them. It was quite endearing to the whole process when you see them doing it like that. I quite liked it. I'll nominate that as a high point a bit after the fact. More nominations for the pointies. Best line.
Oh God, what's he going for?
Best line. What do you get when you cross an owl with a bungee cord? My ass. And then and it goes, enough. At the end. I thought, because I was sitting thinking, ass, owl, not ass, bungee cord, owl. I couldn't come up with the punchline, but yeah, that made me laugh. Worst plan. I guess the kind of alien people's. I'm not sure what their plan actually was. I know there's this big evil thing, the MOT people with aliens behind it. I'm not really sure what their whole plan for world domination actually was. So they didn't really have one. Best fight was the baby fight, undoubtedly. The worst scene I've put as the final fight with the aliens and the tongue and that. Controversial, I don't know. I'm nominating for best actor and for worst actor Steve Odekirk because he's pretty bad. But he does voice everybody in the film, and everybody in the film does feel different. Like he does give them all a separate sort of feeling about it. but some of them are awful, and he's actually quite good at what he does in terms of being an actor on screen himself. So just for shits and gigs, I'm going to nominate him. Best inanimate object. If your enemy has black hair and a mustache, then you must definitely decorate your mannequins with black hair and mustache.
Yes.
Best inanimate object is the lion.
Yes.
I thought it was a nice touch. Again, I don't know if that's an original film or not. I'm assuming they set it up for the remake, but it was in the original film. It's brilliant. Best scene in the baby fight again. Worst supporting character. Ling just did my head in. Worst father figure. Anyone who is a father figure is the worst father figure in this film. They're all terrible. And the most obvious name. I chosen one for most of it, but Tungy I think has to be the most obvious name. Oh, and then best villain Betty. He is quite a good villain. Andy, any nominations?
I'm definitely giving you the best villain, Betty, because what a badass he was. Just cuts off his henchmen's
How many
toes
bad
for no
guys
reason and stuff.
do you know call themselves Betty?
One.
But yeah, Betty's definitely getting a thingy. Best random payoff. I'm going to make an award up for this. So we'll put its best plan. Buy him some nuts to get a squirrel to block a punch.
Aye.
What? Like, that's genius. He knew he was getting punched. So he had to encourage a squirrel, which the squirrel seemed happy with the deal, so
Yeah.
winner. Worst villains, the French, just because I want to nominate the French for being shit at something.
French aliens. Yeah.
So yeah, the French were shit. I don't know, what else can I nominate? You've nominated everything else. Yeah, best song, I'm agreeing with you. Baby Got Back. I think you've covered everything else. Let's see what Chris adds, I'll think.
I think, yeah.
I've gone for the same as you, best bad guy, Betty. My worst twist is the council being aliens and French. Like you said, it was unnecessary. They could have just kept the aliens out for the fake sequel. But best twist is the lady chucking the baby down the hill because she thinks she's going to nurture it and look after it. And just, oh, goodbye, and down the hill. My best death is Wimplo's. It's just for the long squeak of the thing on his back and him going. It's fucking funny. And my best line is a tie between "Shut Ripper" and "My finger points."
My finger points. Yeah.
Loves the finger
So
points.
yeah.
Is that jogged your memory at all, Andy? Or are you
No,
settled
I think
with
we've definitely covered everything I've got.
Oh, the what's it called? The thing about Michael Pena Award for
Oh,
Master
yes.
Tang.
Right. Oh yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well
yeah,
remembered.
yeah. It's a good one. Best storytelling for Michael Pena. Okay, point 9, the moral of the story. Andy, what is your moral of Kung Pow Enter the Fist?
Killing as Bedong.
Yeah, I've got that too.
Is that yours word
That-
for word, Chris?
Killing his badong, yeah.
It's the dong. Very good. I've got bearing in mind, I just watched Mortal Kombat in the few days leading up to this. Moral of the story: haikus are Japanese, but I did it for this anyway. Haiku: killing enemy, take the time and manpower to kill the baby. That was definitely the moral of the story. Tying in with Mortal Kombat, where the little baby live in that as well. 10th point on the 10th point podcast is the 10-point rating. Andy, you picked it. Why don't you give us your 10-point rating first?
Right, this is a film that does still age. Normally I moan about when I watch a film it gets old. There's only a couple of scenes in this that does annoy me, which is like all the deaths and shit like that. It just is too long. But other than that, I can just put this on the background, not actually watch it, but just listen to it, and it's still funny because it's basically just like listening to the 10-point podcast. Just us talking in your ear. But like I said, from memories and stuff like that, like the good times it gave me, like I said, this was like porn at the school and stuff like that. It's flawed, it's stupid, it's kind of my kind of film, but I want it to be better, so it still only just gets a 7.
Oh, sneaks a 7 by the sounds of it. Chris, you'd seen it before, with the same sort of memories by the sounds of it, so why don't you give it a
Yeah,
rate?
pretty much. I'm going completely different rate. It gets a 4 for me.
Oh,
It's a lot funnier on earlier viewings. I think as the older you get and the more mature you get, it's
Nah,
like
it
I
stays the
said,
same
you
for
can
me.
sit within the background and just listen to the quotes, and they're funny, but everything else is just stupid or it doesn't make you laugh. And yeah, so I give it a 4. It's memories that would bring it higher.
see. My first time watching it. You've kind of stolen what my review of it was, because you both mentioned Badong, which I thought I got through the entire episode without anyone mentioning Badong yet. My entire review was, it's not bad wrong or Badong, it's badite. As in, it's bad, but it's fun to watch. Like, it's quite clearly awful, but I had a real good time, a good laugh. I was laughing out loud a lot. It could be better than it is. I still think the silly voice. If he had employed more actors to play the other parts, they could have brought something to each of the
He
characters.
only had a 10 million budget.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. They could have played them all a bit straight, a tiny bit straighter, and been funnier that way, I think. So I'm going with Chris, and I'm giving it 4 as well. But it's not to say I don't like it. It's one of these films that I know is bad, but I actually quite enjoyed it, and I would definitely watch it again. And like Andy says, I could stick it on in the background. Overall, the ews and all that stuff, the funny bits would still jump out. That means the official rating is a 5, so not too bad. Far from the worst. Far from the worst, and not quite the best either. Before we move on, Andy's picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films now. He's only got one more this season. He's got a theme that connects these 6 films: Blade Trinity, Little Shop of Horrors, Waterworld, City Slickers, Look Who's Talking, and Kung Pow Enter the Fist. I've got 3 guesses, so Chris looks like he's really contemplating life here. So 3 guesses that I think Andy. I'm trying to get into
inside his head.
Yeah, he gave a clue last week that he told Chantel, and she was angry at his team. So to me, that says it doesn't actually work. But so
Are you actually purposely, accidentally picking films with pedos or something?
No.
Was the one in this?
I don't know. Maybe he is.
Maybe
Well, yeah,
Becky
because they're
was.
trying to attack a baby. I don't know.
I guess so. Right, my 3 guesses.
Go on.
1. Did you watch them when you were younger?
Well, I did, but that is not the theme.
Right, okay, because at one point I'm worried, because you mentioned that you used to love Blade, and you watched Little Shop of Horrors, and Waterworld was on telly, and so I thought maybe these are all things that you watched when you were younger. Is the theme that each one of them is a different genre of film?
No. Is that a thing?
Okay. So I've got inside your head again. His theme is going to be there's not a theme, therefore that is the theme as well. I think we've got kung fu, we've got a comedy, we've got adventure. I thought you were going that way. My last one, is it children or babies?
Oh, you're close, but no.
Right, because look, I don't know how Blade fits in, but the plant he makes that
Yeah,
grow. There's a
yeah.
kid in Waterworld. Six
Yeah.
Slickers is the baby cow.
Yeah.
Look Who's Talking speaks for itself, and then there's the baby in this. So
Yeah. And there was technically a baby in Blade, because there was a little girl who Chris actually said Dracula shouldn't look after a baby, is what Chris's
that's
words
right.
were.
There you
Oh,
go.
so it is. Is a kid, little kid.
No, it's not.
But it's close though. It's something like
See, I
that.
wasn't.
Well,
accidentally
I say
picking
close.
pedo
It was
films.
one of my original themes, because I knew Chris was having his baby, so I was going
Right,
to do all
yeah.
babies all the way throughout, but then I didn't.
Was Little Shop of Horrors is outlier unless you count
Why
the
would
plant.
that make Chantel angry? What have you done? Like, you've twisted it somehow.
No, like I said, babies was my original theme, but I changed it fairly early on.
Right. Was it
Because I
before
did-
or after Little Shop of Horrors?
It was after that, actually.
Right, okay, so that does still count as I
It was
think
a-
children and babies.
Waterworld, it changed. There's your clue.
Right, okay.
That was a
That
good-
the time.
Good shout, Bruce.
Yeah, that's why I waited till last. Have you any ideas, Chris, or you? Is that
No, like, I still think that. I don't know.
There's also a lot of semen in my films now, I remember as well, by the way. There's a lot of semen, but that's not that theme.
Waterworld's a lot of semen in it?
Nice.
Right, well,
Andy wanted his semen as well.
we better crack on then for the next episode, and it's my pick, which I remembered just before doing the podcast. When Chris was speaking to me, I just remembered.
Please be
Now,
Mortal
this was
Kombat.
essentially
Please
this
be
point
Mortal
I've run out
Kombat.
of picks because I was going to pick City Slickers, and Andy picked it. So I had a spare pick. I have the last pick of the season. I think after doing this film, I might double down and we'll do what I was going to do as the last pick of the season. So I'm sticking with that. So I had a free go here. I looked at the years we've covered. Oh, by the way, we've all picked a film from that last year, and it's all been this season. So whatever year it was, we did
2002.
this week, 2003. We all did that. So the one that's most recent that we've not done is 2013. We've never done that award season, so I picked one to fill in that gap because it was annoying me on my spreadsheet. And it's a big film that I enjoy. I own on Blu-ray. It stars, I think, 2 people that we've not covered before. The 2 main stars. One of them is one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and we've not done a film yet. So 2012, starring G. Fox, And Leonardo DiCaprio, who we have never done somehow before. I'm going for Django Unchained is my select for next week.
His little
Quentin
face.
Tarantino film.
There
Never
could
done.
be a lot of mines next week to dodge.
We'll see. It could be current on topic with what's happening in the world. We don't know, but yes, I thought I'd go with something a bit different. And there was another film I was lining up, and it was actually even longer than this, so I decided to go for the shorter version, shorter option, I should say. So Django Unchained next week. You'll have 7 days to watch that, find that, and give that a look. And we'll catch you next week on the 10 Point Podcast.